Welcome to Hire Power, the show where we cut through the noise and get real about hiring. I'm Kim Frost, founder of Frost Connections, and after 25 plus years in the search industry, I've seen what works and what absolutely doesn't. If you're a founder, CEO, VP, or HR leader who's tired of bad hires and ready to build a team that actually fits your culture and vision, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. The importance of onboarding. It really is important. It sounds so trivial, but it really does impact the beginning of your new hire's career. Here's the truth. Hiring doesn't end when the offer letter is signed. That's just the beginning. If you don't invest in onboarding, you're setting yourself up for high turnover, disengaged employees, and wasted dollars. Onboarding isn't a nice to have. It's the launchpad for every new hire. Strong leaders know this. They invest their time. They know what makes a difference. Let me back up a little bit. So when I was with the global consulting work, remote work was the norm. I was based in Seattle, my manager was in Denver, and I was considered part of the Chicago team. We had conference calls, and this was before Zoom, but connection was hard, and it showed. Our retention rate was low throughout the entire company. So we created a program, a 2-day onboarding session at our corporate headquarters. We were sticklers. No one could start without going through onboarding. Prior to this, when we hired people, some people never even laid eyes, stepped foot in our corporate headquarters. What were the results of this onboarding? Within a year, turnover dropped from double digits to single digits. That's how powerful onboarding is when you treat it as part of the hiring process, not an afterthought. So why invest the time and money? First and foremost, first impressions last. Onboarding is the bridge between hiring and retention. You just spent weeks or months carefully selecting this person. Don't lose them in the first 90 days because you dropped the ball after they signed the offer. Studies show up to 20% of new hires leave within the first 45 days if onboarding is weak. Culture happens fast. New hires are scanning. Do I belong here? Do they value me? Do they walk the talk on culture? Your onboarding is where you show, not just tell, what your company is all about. I learned this firsthand when I worked for the global consulting firm. When we decided to change that with the 2-day onboarding session, we really saw a difference. We had much more engaged employees. Onboarding also increases productivity and confidence. A great onboarding process shortens the time it takes for someone to contribute meaningfully. When people know what's expected, who to go for answers, and what success looks like, they ramp faster. And lastly, retention and ROI. Hiring is really expensive. So if you want your investment to pay off, onboarding is part of that insurance policy of success. Employees who go through structured onboarding are almost 79% more likely to stay at least 3 years. That is huge. But you don't have to take my word for it. I want to bring in Laura Poepping of Plum Coaching and HR Consulting. In her vast, diverse experience, she's seen how impactful onboarding can be. She has seen firsthand how onboarding shapes a culture, retention, and performance. So thank you, Laura, for joining me.
Oh, it's wonderful to join you today. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, as I mentioned, when you and I had lunch a couple months ago, I don't know how we got on onboarding, but I heard your passion and your depth of knowledge in onboarding. And so I really thought you would be the perfect person to join me as a guest. So a couple questions for you. So first off, from your perspective, why is onboarding so critical during the hiring process?
Well, first of all, let me just say that any hiring is an investment. It's always going to
Hmm.
be investment. So you've invested your time, you've invested your resources. I mean, you invested the time of other people. And so if you're going to bring someone on, if you're going to hire someone, you want to make sure that you retain them in the best possible way. And if you think about whenever you've gone ahead and made an investment, you do the research into them. You know this from a recruiting point of view. So there's even a greater investment there. But you want to make sure in that retention that you set systems up so that the person gives you ROI, return on investment, as quickly as possible. So there's some really easy things you can do, some simple things that sound crazy, actually, that will help you get this person up and running and that you get that return on investment.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, talk to me about some of the best practices you've seen in onboarding programs. You alluded it to a little bit in your last answer.
Yes, sure. Well, the first thing is make sure that you bring key stakeholders together who are going to be part of the experience of this new employee. So, in addition to the person who's going to be managing them, perhaps people on their team, perhaps the administrative person who's going to be supporting them, and bring them together and better understand what structure should we build immediately to make this person successful. So there's actually this message you should be giving everyone. As a manager, I'm not just responsible for this person being successful. It's a team effort. So I'm going to look to you to make sure this person is feeling supported and successful. So there's some ownership or skin in the game from the people surrounding this person. Then make sure that beyond just a checklist, which people love a checklist, I even appreciate a good checklist, you understand all the nuances of someone starting. So I'll give you an example. If someone is starting in an organization where there are very siloed functions within the organization,
Hmm.
yet this person needs to be connected with those siloed organizations, make a list of who should be meeting with them and then decide who is going to email an introduction to those people in the silos and make the request personally that they speak to this new employee.
Hmm.
Because if this new employee has to go out and do it themselves,
Hmm.
they don't have the credibility that maybe they would have if they weren't new. So in their former organization, they built their credibility, but in
Hmm.
this new one, they didn't. So making sure that we have things as simple as introductions to key stakeholders. That would be on the really strategic end of things. On the simple tactical end of things, does this person have a laptop set up and
Hmm.
sitting on their desk or given to them by somebody on the very first day? And do we
Hmm.
have passwords? Do they know where they need to go for a bio break? It's amazing how many people wander the hallways of their brand new office if they're on site and don't
Hmm.
know where to go.
So
Who's
true.
going to join them on their first day beyond just an orientation? Is there somebody that is going to, if they're on site, have lunch with them the first day
Yeah.
and bring them somewhere to welcome them? Are there one
Hmm.
or two people that can welcome them? Or if they're virtual, is there a way to think creatively about having a virtual coffee with
Hmm.
someone to orient them and to welcome them? There is nothing more unsettling than being a brand new person in an echo chamber where they only hear or talk to themselves. There has to be a system where we set up connection.
Absolutely. And I love the fact because you talk about you're really personalizing your onboarding to that specific person, which I think when we think about onboarding, we think about okay, big programs, big global companies, multi-million dollar companies. And it is good to have a formal onboarding program, but I like the fact that you specifically spoke to, customizing it and really for the smaller organizations, because sometimes those smaller companies don't have the resources or the creativity. And I agree with you. The one thing I stress is please make sure you have somebody take this your new hire out to lunch. I can't tell you how many times, not my clients, of course, because of course our clients are
I'm
wonderful,
sure they
but
are.
other companies where they're like, this person is sitting at their desk, and if they're in a new location, do they even know where, like you said, where things are? So lunch is just again another small thing, but such a nice touch, but speaks volumes.
Yeah, and beyond that, giving someone a an agenda of what they're going to experience. So for example, it can be just a phone call to say, when you first arrive, ask for Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And Kim is going to introduce you to our CFO. And in that conversation, they're going to talk to you about X. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have a conversation with this person. So you actually have this person immediately feeling like they're part of
Mm-hmm.
something and they're becoming educated on what you need them to do. Again, if you want to be really business focused about it, ROI, ROI.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is wandering around and doesn't know what the reason is for them to be there
Mm-hmm.
or how to get anything done, if you have systems they've never used before, or there are passwords to get in those systems and you don't provide them, you're not going to get ROI. You're not going to have that person feeling that they're effective as they step into the role, and B, you're going to take the wind out of the balloon, the air out of the balloon, because they're excited. They're
Right.
excited to be there, even if they're
Yep.
virtual. They're all enthusiastic about starting
Mm-hmm.
this new job. If you don't give them a purpose right away, there goes the air.
Oh, that is so true because you're right. You get a new job, you tell all your friends, you tell your family, you say goodbye to all your former colleagues, and then people follow up, "Oh my God, how was your first day? How was your first day?" That's so true. Good point.
It's actually a continuation of recruiting. If
Yep.
you think of recruiting as being part of retention,
Hmm.
then it is a very important part of that process, which you do with your clients. But I am amazed at how significant the turnover is, especially in the senior level, because you get all excited about hiring someone who's really senior, right? And you
Hmm.
think you're hiring them for their expertise in something. But if they get to their first day, they don't know anybody, they don't know what they're supposed to do, their manager is on vacation that first week, they
Hmm.
literally are aimless. That air is starting to leak out of that balloon.
Yeah.
And you're losing precious time of
Mhm.
keeping them engaged as well as getting them educated so you have this return on investment. So it is only to the benefit, even if it's something as simple as what is that first day going to be like?
Yep.
Then you will get value out of that. There, like you said, it's amazing how many people get asked that, what was your first day like?
Hmm.
And what you want to look through the lens of, we want that person to have that first day and go, oh my gosh, I am so glad I joined Plum, or
Yep.
I'm so glad I joined Acme Corporation. That's what your intention should be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, one last piece of advice for leaders, right? I mean, we hear it, oh, it's expensive, it's too much time. But for the leaders that are listening today, what is the one thing that you would stress about the onboarding process that they could do today that is, I know you talked about the other things, but what's the one key nugget of takeaway for onboarding and what could they change? Why so important?
Mhm. Then, well, I would have top three if I had time. But the
Okay.
first one I'm going to say is your endorsement. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a CEO, if you're a CFO, COO, and you're bringing someone into your organization, your evangelism of them, your endorsement of them, your support of them to the greater organization gives people the understanding that they need to be invested in this new hire as well. That's why I always say to people, make sure that the leader is making the introduction to people personally.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, I want you to meet Joan. John, I want you to meet Joan. If you spend
Mm.
simply 30 minutes of your day on a very significant investment, I want to add, to
Mm-hmm.
take that recommendation that this person meet with you, that will make such a difference in the experience that person has, not only in the first day, but in going forward, because they've received that endorsement basically saying, this person is important to me and they should be important to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that's a great segue into here's how we can do it. So, how does this all work? Start before day one. Onboarding doesn't begin when your new hire walks through the door. Send them a welcome package, a note from their manager, or even a video message. I can't tell you how many candidates have told me how special they feel when not only the hiring manager, but the entire interview team reaches out to that new hire after they accept the offer. That speaks volumes. So, what does that take? 5 minutes of your time? And it doesn't cost anything more than time. It really helps remove the awkwardness of day one. You have to make onboarding a priority, it's not an excuse. Too often, I hear companies say, well, we're too small. We don't need an onboarding program. Or, oh my God, I cannot wait. We've got to get this person started ASAP. I even heard from a new hire that their onboarding was here's your desk, and that's it. Someone I know worked for a company, and he was so embarrassed by the lack of onboarding. They weren't a part of the interview team, they weren't the hiring manager, but they would make sure every new hire had a desk with their name tag, their computer, culture swag like pens, notepads, shirts. That really does make a difference. You need to build a 30, 60, 90-day roadmap. Don't just drop them in, give them clarity. If you look at part of our air quoting job descriptions, we break them down into what's expected of the first 30, 60, 90 days. If you have that in your job description, there's your roadmap right there. Here's the other thing that I love. Assign a culture guide, or what we like to say is a mentor. Pair new hires with a peer or someone who can help navigate not just the process, but the unwritten rules and nuances of the team. It's not the hiring manager. It may not even be somebody on their team. And it's also another way to introduce them to other areas of the organization that they might not work with on a daily basis. Also, leaders must show up. Nothing says you matter like the CEO or a vice president spending time with the new hires. Leaders set that tone. This isn't HR's job alone. So, if you can have a VP there, your CEO make an appearance during onboarding, at least create a video. But I will tell you, having the CEO drop in, say hello, shake hands, speaks volumes of your culture. And lastly, feedback. Loop that in early in the process. Check in weekly. What's working? What's confusing? Course correct before small issues become deal breakers. Unfortunately, I've had candidates that we've placed where we will check in at, well, really after the first week, but at 30 days and they still haven't had a one-on-one with their manager. That is not making somebody feel special. So I want to thank my good friend, mentor, and all around amazing person, Laura Poepping of Plum Consulting. It's such a good reminder that onboarding isn't paperwork, it's connection. It's showing a new hire that they matter, that they belong, and they have a path to succeed. Thank you, Laura, for sharing your perspective. So here's what I want you to take away. Onboarding isn't about IT logins or filling out forms. It's where you deliver on the promises you made during your hiring process. It speaks of your culture. So do it well, and you'll see stronger retention, better performance, and a culture of people where they want to stay. If you do it poorly, you'll be right back where you started, hiring again. So remember, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. That's it for this episode of Hire Power. If you're ready to hire smarter, connect with me at frostconnections.com or at LinkedIn at Kim Frost. And if you've got something to say about today's episode, follow the show and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, hire smart, lead better, and remember, how you hire is who you become. See you next week. No fluff, just better hires.